41 names. 1 diary. 3 generations of women who refused to let it disappear. The book arrived at Harvard in 2005. It was opened in 2007. The box had arrived at Harvard-Yenching Library in November 2005. The accession record listed only a surname for the donor, E. No first name. No address. The package was postmarked Boston, and signed. For 16 months, the box remained closed on a shelf in the Rare Korean Collections Preservation Room. No researcher had requested it. The donor had not followed up. On March 11, 2007, Dr. Emily Lin, a 34-year-old historian of East Asian medicine, opened it. Inside were 3 hand-bound manuscripts on hanji paper. The cover of the first volume bore 4 characters in classical script. The Diary of Soyeon, Medical Maid. Carbon dating placed the paper at 1903, plus or minus 5 years. The entries inside described events from 1784 to 1839. Someone had copied the manuscript 64 years after the original author had died. What Dr. Lin read first was a list. 41 names. Each followed by 3 characters. I knew her death. She did not yet know that this list was the smaller mystery. The diary's author identified herself as Soyeon, an uinyeo of the Hanseong Palace Medical Office. The uinyeo system had existed since 1406, drawn from the lowest court ranks, government slaves, women from displaced families. Their function was to attend royal women, who could not be touched by male physicians. Their words rarely entered the official record. Soyeon's diary spanned 55 years. The first entry was dated autumn of 1784. The last was the spring of 1839, the year she died. 41 names. 41 death dates. Each followed by the same claim, I knew her death. The names were not random. They were palace women, royal consorts, court ladies, attendants in the inner quarters. One of them, Lady Yubin Song, had been a documented consort of King Jeongjo, and her death in September 1786 was recorded in the official annals. But 38 other names had no equivalent in any official record Dr. Lin could locate. Soyeon claimed she had read death in their faces, in the pulse, in the eyes, in the way they breathed in the hours before. She wrote that no one had believed her. Between July and October 2007, Dr. Lin cross-referenced the 41 names against the Annals of the Joseon Dynasty, the daily records of the Royal Secretariat, and the daily records of the Royal Physician's Office. These were the 3 primary court chronicles, considered the recognized record of late Joseon palace life. The results separated into 3 groups. 22 names matched the official record exactly. Same woman. Same date of death. Confirmation. 14 names matched within 7 days. Close, but not identical, the kind of variance expected between a court physician's private notes and the formal court chronicle, where a death might be entered the day a senior official saw fit to record it. 5 names had no matching entry at all. The 5 unrecorded women had something in common. They were of lower court rank, attendants and minor consorts, the kind of women whose deaths the official record habitually omitted. 3 of the 5 appeared in private family genealogies as cases of unexplained sudden death. Dr. Lin's first conclusion was statistical. 22 of 41 was 53.6%. As random prediction, the figure was impossible. As a working diagnostician's record, it was unremarkable. The harder question was the other 19. Either Soyeon had recorded deaths that never happened, or the official record had failed to record them. In the spring of 2008, Dr. Lin traveled to Seoul. She visited the National Library of Korea and the Kyujangak Institute for Korean Studies. She was looking for evidence that Soyeon had existed at all. The 1782 roster of the Hanseong Palace Medical Office listed an uinyeo named Soyeon, age 18 at entry. The 1825 personnel record marked her retirement at age 61. A short notice from 1839 confirmed her death at age 74, of natural causes, in her own house. She had existed. She had served. She had died. The decisive entry came from a Kyujangak fragment dated the same year, 12 characters in classical script, written in a clerk's quick brush. The medical maid Soyeon has died. Her daughter, Ibok-hee, continues. Soyeon had a daughter. The daughter's name was recorded. But uinyeo rarely married. Their children, when they had them, were often unrecorded. And Soyeon had been 56 at the time of the entry that named her daughter, an age at which childbirth would have been extraordinary. The diary in Dr. Lin's hands had been copied in 1903. Soyeon had died in 1839. Someone else had carried this manuscript across 64 years. What Dr. Lin reconstructed over the next year was a chain of 3 women. The first was Soyeon, born 1764, died 1839. She wrote the original diary across 55 years of palace service. She recorded 41 names that the official record refused to keep. The second was her daughter, Ibok-hee, born 1820, died 1899. She was Soyeon's child by an unrecorded father. She also became an uinyeo, though the system was already declining and her name does not appear in formal rosters. She added nothing to the diary. Her work was preservation alone, keeping her mother's pages safe through 50 years of political change. The third was Bok-hee's granddaughter, Hyun, born 1880. By the time she came of age, the uinyeo system had been abolished. She was not a medical maid. She was, instead, a literate young woman in a small house in Sejik-dong, Seoul, in the closing years of the Joseon kingdom. In 1903, Hyun copied the entire diary by hand, translating Soyeon's classical Chinese into Korean hangul, so that the next generation of women could read it. She wrote on the cover, in plain script, 41 names. 3 generations preserved. What the diary recorded was no longer the question. The question was what the act of preservation had recorded, across 3 generations, across a century and a half, by women who had no reason to expect anyone would ever read them. Dr. Lin published her first paper on Soyeon's diary in 2011, in the Journal of Asian Studies. The reception was cautious. The methodological objection was that the diary stood outside the official record. The Annals of the Joseon Dynasty and the daily records of the Royal Secretariat were the recognized sources for late Joseon court history. A private uinyeo's manuscript, copied 64 years after the author's death and surfacing in a foreign library 2 centuries later, sat outside that established framework. Peer review on this kind of source moves slowly. The publication trajectory took years. The diary remained in private hands until it was donated, and the chain of preservation was not state archival but household, 3 generations of women keeping a book that no one had asked them to keep. What Dr. Lin's paper introduced into the scholarly record was 19 names. 19 women whose deaths had been observed in 1784 to 1839, but had never been written down by anyone with the standing to make them official. In the fall of 2014, Dr. Lin returned to the donation file. She wanted to know who had sent the box. The 2005 donor record contained 1 field. No first name. No return address. The accompanying note had been a single sheet, and signed. Postmarked Boston. While re-examining the 3rd volume of the diary, Dr. Lin noticed a small folded paper tucked behind the back cover lining. It had been there since 1903. The note was written in classical Chinese, 1903. 3. Written in 1903. Preserved by 3 generations. If this book reaches a distant place, the reader will be a woman. Do not ask who sent it. Ask, who has not yet been recorded. That winter, Dr. Lin researched her own family history. Her maternal line was E. Her great-grandmother had been born in Seoul in 1880 and had emigrated to the United States in 1951, in the second year of the Korean War, carrying very little. Her great-grandmother's name had been Lee Hyun. The book had not arrived at Harvard by accident. It had been sent to her. She had inherited it without knowing. Between 2014 and 2024, the manuscript was examined by 47 researchers. It was loaned once, in 2019, to the National Museum of Korea for a single exhibition. In July 2024, the library received a viewing request from a person identified only as descendant of E. The request was made through a single-use email address, deactivated after one message. The donor-descendant clause in the library's access protocol permitted such a request. Approval was granted. The reason given on the request form was a single line. To add a name. As of the close of 2024, no in-person visit had taken place. Dr. Lin retired in 2023. She has established the E. Hyun Collection Fund at Harvard-Yenching. She declines all interviews on the diary. The diary has 41 names. It has had 41 names for 185 years. In 2024, someone wished to add one more. We do not know who. We do not know why. We do not know if they will come. Apocryphal File AP001. Status, unresolved. Cross-reference. 3-generation matrilineal preservation as a recurring pattern in late Joseon women's unofficial records. Distinct from self-recorded memoir tradition, e.g., Haegyeonggung Hong SSI. Here the act is plural generation transmission, where each generation's role is preservation rather than authorship. May connect to future AP candidates exploring women's invisible historiography across cultures. End of file.